This is a Perdigon nymph that I posted a few days back on Alberta Fly Fishing, and since then I've been asked by numerous people to do a small video on how to tie this. So as you can see, the Perdigon is really just a solid mass, waterproof, water-resistant bug. Perdigon actually translates into English as pellet. I think more accurately, pebble would be more appropriate because that's really how it behaves, much like a small rock or pebble that you would find on a stream bed, and you throw it in the river and it just goes straight to bottom. So that's one of the nice things about it. So when I fish it with a fairly light tippet, anywhere from 0.08 to 0.14. So about 2.3 kilo, and the 1.14, the 0.08 is about 1 kilo, 1.3 kilo. And this pattern is very, very easy to tie. You can use a standard bead. I run oversized beads, 4 mil, and I'll just start with a Fluoro Bright orange, which is a tying thread from Zemperfly, and it's generally used for tags or other body materials. And I'll take some Coq de Leon fibers and just match the ends up carefully and put them in place so that they're about the length of the body itself, maybe slightly shorter, and tie it in along the shank, top of the shank, and bring the Fluoro Bright thread down to the bend of the hook, and at the bend of the hook I'll go under one time to splay the fibers, and then just touching turns, commencing forward, back, and behind the bead. And when I get to this point, I'll snap off the butt ends of the Coq de Leon, proceed forward to behind the bead, and build a bit of a ramp here that'll hold the bead in place. And then I'll do a 3 or 4 turn whip finish, progressing towards the bead with each turn of the whip finish, and that'll give you a relatively flush body. At this point I'll apply a little bit of head cement. It's more to, that's watered down fairly thin, more to penetrate the thread, and then I'll start the micro glint tinsel from Zemperfly, and there's a huge assortment of colors, everything from yellows, reds, greens, blues, oranges, rainbow colors. It's great stuff. It's also a micro, so it's not like some of the other micro glints that are out there fairly thick. So this is fairly thin to work with and easy to work with. And I'll just start doing progressive turns down the hook shank, just like you would run a standard threading procedure. And I'll come back to within third or fourth wrap at the back end of the Fluoro Bright, and then progress forward to the bead, and then work my way back down. So all I'm going to do is really build a small tapered body. Well, it's actually a fairly robust tapered body. And behind the bead itself, build it up again a little bit, come back down. So the nice thing about this pattern is you can make it a huge assortment of colors, color combinations between the beads, the tags, all the different Fluoro Bright colors, and all the different micro glint colors. The combinations are just absolutely endless. But the purpose behind this pattern is to get down deep with a small pattern in fairly fast moving current with as small a fly as possible that has has virtually no water resistance. The water really has nothing to grab on these things, so there's no friction. And I just work my way up behind the bead. And then my last set of turns, I'll just whip finish here. Again, progressing with each turn up towards the bead, so that when you pull in your whip finish knot, none of it's piled up or built up. And make a nice snug tight pull, snip away the excess, and at this point I'll put a UV clear coat on. Just any kind of a UV resin will work, whatever you like to use, whatever you have handy. Or you can just give it multiple coats of head cement, and that'll work as well, until you have a nice smooth finish. And what I like to do, I'm not quite finished here, I'll have to apply a wing case, something that's a little dark in position. So I'll put the fly upside down and just rotate it so that I'll end up with a little teardrop shape just behind the head. And we'll torch that very quickly. This is the way I do it. I mean, there's hundreds of different ways of doing this when you start thinking about it and getting into this pattern. But this works for me, so I'm happy with it. Once the torch is done, it's hardened, I'll take a black Copic marker and I'll just mark the top where the bubble is, a little teardrop I created, and just give it a black stroke. And that's my wing case. I'll let that dry. Pattern's ready to fish. Hope you enjoyed it. Let your mind go wild and crazy with the different color versions. And this pattern was developed in Spain for small creeks and rivers for browns, wild brown trout. And it is very effective, and it is a competition pattern that's used by many world competitors, and it's a very popular pattern. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed this.